if he hadn't have had that car accident, I think he was going places.
He was going.
He was unstoppable, but that really
car accident just blew everything out of the water, because at that time, just before that accident, he had been out with Tricky in New York, and they'd met Tarantino over there.
Oh, really?
And that had really happened. Yeah. And when that happened, after the night the accident happened, the following day, the Daily Star rung up, and they rung me and said, we've just booked Dave to do 25 shows with the Daily Star girls, going around all the nightclubs, the naughty nightclubs at night. And they wanted him with the girls, being the naughty boy. So they booked him for a full tour to do his bit of stand-up and be a cheeky chap. Yeah. And I'm having to go to the bloke. He said, so we start next week. I went, he's in a coma. And he's going, what? I said, he's in a coma, mate, so you'll have to f*** off. I said, there's no point in booking anything. He's had a car accident and he's in a coma, and he couldn't get his head round it. He went, but I spoke to him, this was on the Saturday. He went, I spoke to him, I've told him we're going to confirm today. And I said, well, you can't speak to him. He's actually in a coma. And that car accident definitely changed him in a lot of ways.
Well, it took him months to
it took him 6 months just to get back out of hospital. Yeah.
But that momentum, it's like if you're a band and you have a number one hit, if you don't fucking chase that up or tour that everywhere, you can't do. If you lose that momentum, you'll never get it back again.
And that it really did change a lot of things. That accident. It was. I often think the one thing he used to have a go at me about was when he was in a coma, Nick. I went there every day, and you can imagine, it's your best mate in a coma. So I'm going, come on, Dave, you'll be all right, pull through it. But there was another day, about 2 weeks after the accident, the insurance assessors rang me and said, come and look at the car. Right. So I went and looked at my Range Rover and I looked at it and I saw he had smashed every panel on the car. It's completely ain't missed one bit of it. It's rolled over sideways, flipped front ways and rolled sideways. So there weren't one bit of it that weren't right. Yeah. But and this is, I've genuinely, hand on my heart, the only thing that worked in that car, Nick, was the CD player, which was a really good Blower Point CD player, and the track that was on when we got it going was I'm All Shook Up by Elvis. And I promise you, that's what it was. He loved Elvis, you know what I mean? And he had that, must have been on, but as soon as because we took that out of there and put it in my girlfriend's car at the time, and when we got it on and switched it on, the fucking track that come on was All Shook Up. But I went to the hospital that day, and he'd had an operation on his pelvis, and it was a success. So they were saying he's going to be all right, So I'm sitting there, and he's in a coma, and I couldn't help it. I looked at him, I went, marvellous, Dave, innit? I said, you've managed to fuck every single panel on that car. You ain't missed nothing out. You're going to be all right, haven't you? You're all right. I said, but you have the car up completely.
Right. And all the gigs.
And I never thought anything more about it. Yeah. About 4 or 5 weeks later, when he's coming out of a coma, and they put that tracheostomy thing on him. So after a little while, at first, when he first had that and he was coming round, we had an ABC board. Right. So we're trying to talk to him. I'm going, tell me what do you need me to do or anything? But he was obviously on morphine and he can't spell. Yeah. So by the time
trying to what you can do with Ronnie Riggs.
It looked like the letters that you got on the Saturday afternoon for the pools, you know what I mean? I went, what fucking word is that?
It was like a ransom note. I have your daughter.
Badly spelled. So, but when he started to speak, I remember I had to put gloves on and put the finger over the thing, and then he could speak and you could hear him. Yeah. So as he's coming back and he started to speak, I went, it's good to have you back, Dave. He went, sorry about the car. Yeah. I said, sorry about the car. I said, don't be silly, Dave. He went, you managed to smash every panel on that car, and I've looked at him, and I took my finger off straight away, and now he's going, you get so I can't hear what he's saying, but I thought, he's only remembered, he's only heard me say, he's not heard me say every other thing where I went, love you Dave, come on Dave, you've not heard anything except that one bit.
That is funny.
But the hospital whole scenario changed him and took all the steam, took the steam out of the whole situation we was on.
And what he was really, really, really good at doing was getting a bunch of people behind him. I mean, he could have had a fucking cult if he wanted to. He could have, I mean, well, he kind of did to a certain degree. The amount of shenanigans and chicks and crazy crap that was going on in this place, for starters. He could have easily been a cult leader, but he was really good at getting an army of people around him. He created this mythos with this book, The Firm, that there was this kind of almost like an alternate Freemasons of Dorman that were kind of sideline robbers, hitmen, God knows what. It was this like, forget the craze, there's this new club called The Firm, and Dave is the messiah, he's the glorious leader of it. And the fucking press loved it, and he did the book and everything, and it was all fucking total artifice, but this was his genius for creating this kind of persona. And at the end of the day, really, mainly he was a stand-up comedian who was a bit of a naughty boy, but he managed to fool the world to a certain degree.
I don't know if he fooled the world as the right way, but because he was a link to a lot of different people, and he connected a lot of people, and he always said, I weren't a gangster, I'm not a gangster, and I wasn't a gangster, but
But when you say that, the papers just then go, obviously, Look at his house, look at this, how many people has he killed,
His whole thing, the house was built as a film set, everything about it, he looked at it as a career, and it was part of the house was part of his life. It was a film set.
Well, he's portrayed himself as a robber baron.
Yeah.
A modern day robber baron. He's King Arthur.
I mean,
Camelot.
he even got, like I said, he got enough interest that they took him to the Oxford Union to speak.
I was there, and I mean, and what an accolade! And do you know what? This is another thing. There aren't, I can't think of any other villains other than my dad or Howard Marks, if you got them to sit at the Oxford Union, that could engage some of the smartest minds in the country. And he could fucking hold his own with them.
He held court.
And he sat there like a fucking modern day philosopher with a copy of his head that I'd made. Next to him, as if to assert...
And a cigar, smoked a cigar. And had a brandy and coke.
As if to assert that only people like fucking Julius Caesar and people of note have their bust done. And the fact he had the arrogance to address the Oxford Union, casually sat half on the table with this next to him while he waved a cigar around. I mean...
But you know who his inspiration was?
I don't know how many people could have pulled that off. It was like in Scarface. He's like the Scarface of Plumstead.
But his inspiration for that at the Oxford Union was Winston Churchill.
Right, yeah.
Because Winston Churchill was the...
He was lording it up big time.
He was, and he loved it. And he looked at it because when he was offered that, the kid who was running the Oxford Union at the time had seen Dave in the magazines, like Nick said, Villain, and in the Sunday papers, and he was getting in a lot of good stuff, wasn't he? He was getting a lot of good coverage. The kid asked him, would he come and do a lecture at the Oxford Union? And he said, Dave, he loves to chat, don't you? Give him a bit of speed and he's in there chatting, isn't he? But then the kid rang him up and he said, Dave...
Give him a bit of speed like Hitler.
Yeah. He said, Dave, I'm a bit worried because... when I've asked you to do it, someone else at the Oxford Union thinks they can humiliate you a little bit, and the police are quite happy for us to film it and do it to try and make you look stupid. So if you want to, not do it, I'd understand, but I want to give you the heads up. I don't want you to walk into saying and not be prepared for it. And Dave went, bring it on. He went, I fucking love that. He went, I love that.
He loves a heckle.
You know, so and what was really odd, there was one guy there, I'm not sure who he was one of the people in the Oxford Union, but he said, oh, you're justifying all these criminal acts in this criminal way of life. He said, justify murder that you say you've committed, justify it. And he said, well, he said, easy. He said, that man there shot the guy that I was with and then was pointing the gun at me to shoot me. He said, what do you think I'm going to do? Fucking throw a stone at him?
Shake hands?
And he went, and he said, like, if I ever had to do it again, I'd do it quicker.
Absolutely,
And you could see all these people at the Oxford Union going, oh, well, I think he's got a point there. But the bloke was going, no, that's fucking like the future judges and Parliament of the country going, oh, no, it is all right to kill someone. You know, you could see their whole thing was actually getting up with it, you know, but he was so good at making them situations, Nick. That's when he was probably at his best in a situation like that.
Yeah, but he could also turn anything around. What I mean, you know, I would have loved to have seen him on Paxman, you know, because he was a clever bastard and he could give as good as he was.
Definitely,
was given. And he could also turn it into something very, very, very funny as well. You know, I mean, okay, at his worst, you could say he could come across as extremely arrogant, narcissistic, vulgar, and extremely tacky. But at his best, he was your total diamond geezer, lovable rogue, very, very funny, you know. And the only kind of person I can think of who could have me in stitches like he did was Tommy Cooper.
Yeah, and he did have that type of thing.
He really had that kind of thing about him. I remember one day we were meeting at some really exclusive restaurant. I can't remember the name of it now. And there's me and George. We're sat there waiting for him. It's like, is he going to turn up? Is he going to turn up? And there's the side of the restaurant. It's by the river. It's all glass, and we suddenly see him walking. He's got a white suit on and he's walking through the glass on the other side and he's waving at all the diners. And they're all looking like that and then looking absolutely horrified. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on? And I look down and he's got this like 18-inch artificial penis hanging out of his flyers. And he walks all the way along the side of the restaurant with all these people, with their families are sat eating, and then walks into the restaurant and says, hello, I have a reservation. You know, of course, the woman is at the desk like this, so she's only at head height with him like that. So she lets him in, absolutely no idea, and he comes up to George's table, and he's just like waving at everyone like the Queen, like with this thing hanging out, and it's quite realistic. But just absolutely obscene and ridiculous, and he just, you know, he didn't give a fuck. Or there's the other, his favourite, one of his little hobbies was back in the day where he used to get those guys, the kids at traffic lights, with the flowers, you know, and every time the traffic light went red, you know, whatever cars were close to the thing, some kid would come up with some roses. Dave would wind his window down and wave at them like that, and they'd come running over eager, and he'd get out this water pistol, rifle like that, went the flowers, and he'd walk with and squirt them with this gun.
We used to call that drive-by squirtings, Nick.
Drive-by squirting.
That's what he called it. And just to make ourselves laugh, if we were bored, they would go, let's go out and do some drive-by squirtings, right? And we were going to Joe Parle's christening, young Joe's boy's christening, right, one Sunday morning. And I think Mitch and Joe was in the car with us, right? So we're on the way to the christening, and it's Sunday morning. You know Dave wants to show off because there are 3 people in the car.
Yeah.
So
he's got an audience. He's
on it.
He's a performer.
So he's gone to me, pull up, go around the side of that, and this bloke had his window down. So I've gone round, I'm on the wrong side of the road at the traffic lights, and he's opened the window and he's just stunned the driver of this car, right? I thought, oh, no, and I've drove off now. This bloke's tearing after us, he's trying to get round us, and Dave went, fuck it, let him pull up. Yeah. So he's pulled up, he's got up round us, and he's got in front of us, and he's got out, and he's got CS gas. But he's went to squirt Dave with CS gas, but he had it turned the wrong way.
So
and he squirted himself. And now he's fucking blinking. And the worst thing that can happen to you with CS gas is water, isn't it? Right? So Dave squirted him again with the water.
Was every action,
and now he's just called over the place. And we've drove off. But yeah, he called it a drive-by squirting.